Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. This game is all about redemption. Number 9 Oklahoma State takes on number 16 Baylor in a rematch of last year's Big 12 championship game where the Cowboys were stopped inches short of a Big 12 title and a possible college football playoff berth. So will Oklahoma State get their revenge and get redemption in Waco on Saturday, or will Baylor continue to show that they are the team to beat in the Big 12? That is what we are here to answer today. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, ready to predict and analyze this huge Big 12 showdown between Oklahoma State and Baylor. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Guys, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the country over there, beating out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 4 years, hitting over 62% of our spread picks, hitting nearly 84% of our money line picks. You do not want to miss out on our expert picks over on our website. Go sign up today. One of the lowest prices in the country for some of the best picks in the country. You will win if you become a part of our GE Nation. We can guarantee it. So let's dive into this game, guys. Again, this is, I feel like, one of the more anticipated games within the Big 12 this season. Obviously, it's because of how thrilling that Big 12 championship game was last year. Baylor winning 21-16, stopping Oklahoma State inches from the goal line on 4th down to prevent the Cowboys from winning the conference and, again, potentially making the playoff over Cincinnati. It would have been very, very close. Obviously, Oklahoma State did win the regular season matchup last year in Stillwater, beating the Bears by 10. Baylor got their revenge later on. So what will happen now in the regular season meeting here? Because there's a good chance these two teams could meet again in the Big 12 championship in December. Could be very much like last year. But we take a look at the offense, guys, and we'll start with Oklahoma State. This offense is gelling. They are doing extremely well. Granted, they really haven't played anybody great. Central Michigan, Arizona State, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, no one too big. But the Cowboys still averaging 51.7 points per game, including over 511 total yards per game. And the stat that has really impressed me the most, and the guy that has impressed me the most, is their quarterback, and Spencer Sanders. I mean, he's throwing for 348 yards per game. So far, he has 916 yards on the year, 10 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Also has 3 rushing touchdowns. And, this is a guy that coming into the season was kind of getting ridiculed a little bit. He's been so turnover prone over these last few years. He was losing a lot of talent, not just at running back, but also in the wide receiver core. And many wondered, how would Sanders respond? Would he be committing more turnovers? Would he struggle in the passing game like they did at times last year? And so far, he hasn't. He has really stepped up. Played extremely well. He's been accurate. He's been electric. And he's shaping up to have maybe his best season yet as an Oklahoma State Cowboy. But you got to keep in mind, last year in that Big 12 championship game, Sanders threw 4 interceptions. In that one game against Baylor. Obviously, Baylor's defense is still very strong, and you can't help but wonder, will Sanders, that play a little bit of a role in his mind going into this game? Will he get redemption, or will those interceptions come rushing back where he commits a few after only committing 1 through 3 games this year? So keep an eye on him. He's been great so far, but he has to take care of the football on Saturday. When you look at Baylor, this offense, as we've said, just like last year, is extremely balanced. 40.5 points per game, averaging over 220 passing yards per game, over 205 rushing yards per game. I mean, they're about as balanced as you can get. And the guy who's leading them at quarterback is Blake Shapen, who was also the starter in that Big 12 championship game last year. Again, he wasn't really supposed to be. Gary Bohannon was injured. Shapen came in and lit up the Cowboys' defense. Went 23 for 28 for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns. So far this year, he's thrown for over 700 yards, 7 touchdowns, just 1 interception. So Shapen clearly was the guy that Aranda thought gave him the best chance to win. He led them to that title, has been very accurate this year. He also has a guy named Richard Reese at running back who has really picked up the load after Baylor lost a couple guys from last year, Ebner and Abram Smith and guys like that. 315 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaging 5.7 yards per carry for Richard Reese. This is a Baylor team, guys, that is very electric on offense, and you don't really picture them as one of the most electrifying offenses in the country, like a Alabama or an Ohio State, but Baylor can beat you at any level. They can grind it out. They can score fast. Again, the balance is the key here. And I will say this, Baylor does benefit from being more battle-tested than Oklahoma State. Yes, the Cowboys enter this game off of a bye week, but Baylor already has a road game at BYU, has already played a road game at Iowa State. It beat the Cyclones last year with 361 total yards of offense. Clearly more tested than the Cowboys, and that could play a major role in this game on Saturday. When you look at the defense, I think this is really where the game's going to be made, right? It was last year. Shapen played great for Baylor, but does Baylor win that game without 4 interceptions? That, remains to be seen, or could have remained to be seen. Defense will be the key in this game. And you look at Oklahoma State, obviously they were so good last year, one of the best defenses in the country, but they lose Jim Knowles. We know that. Jim Knowles off to Ohio State. And so far, the Cowboys' defense hasn't been that great. But again, they haven't played anybody either. They're allowing 265.3 passing yards per game. They're allowing 111.3 rushing yards per game. And for me, it's the secondary that's been the biggest concern. I think Oklahoma State can do a pretty decent job of bottling up the Baylor running game. They did a pretty good job of that in the regular season meeting last year. Did a pretty good job of that in the championship game as well. It's the secondary that concerns me. I mean, just look at the numbers, guys. 424 passing yards allowed to Central Michigan in that season opener. 223 passing yards allowed to a mediocre Arizona State offense. And that is their best win so far, beating the Sun Devils by 17 in Stillwater in week 2. But one thing that Oklahoma State does well is they rush the quarterback. They get pressure on him. Through 3 games, the Cowboys have 9 sacks. They have 9 sacks. Blake Shapen has been sacked 8 times. So Oklahoma State can create pressure, and if they can get after Shapen, if they can force pressure on him and force Baylor into second and third and long situations, that is where and how the Cowboys can win this game on the road, is to get Baylor behind the chains, get them backed up, or at least just force Shapen into some errant throws. Again, he had all the time in the world last year, only 5 incompletions for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was almost perfect. Oklahoma State cannot allow him to have that time to deliver time and time again on Saturday. They've got to create pressure on him, and they've got to be able to crack down in the secondary because, again, that is their weak point. Baylor, on the other hand, obviously with Dave Aranda as your head coach, you're typically bound to have a pretty solid defense, and that's what they have so far. The Gators are just allowing 16.8 points per game, just 305.3 total yards per game. And the key number I'm looking at here is Baylor's rushing defense. We knew Baylor was going to have one of the best defensive lines in the country this year. We had no doubt about that. And so far, they're only allowing 79.5 rushing yards per game, while Oklahoma State is averaging over 160 rushing yards per game. So something's got to give there. Do the Cowboys kind of impose their will on Baylor, get the ground game going, which could ultimately set up the pass for Spencer Sanders? Or does Baylor shut down the run and say, hey, Sanders, you're going to have to beat us solely through the air, just like we tried to make you do last year, and you were unable to do it. You gifted us with 4 interceptions. Again, last year, Baylor held Oklahoma State to 70 rushing yards in that Big 12 title game. So again, they held them down, bottled up the run, forced Sanders to throw. He couldn't deliver. That's going to be the same recipe for Baylor now in Waco. Bottle up the run, force Sanders to deliver. I mean, again, the first road game for Oklahoma State this year is going to be a hostile environment in Waco. Baylor hasn't had many home games of their own, at least none worthwhile. Their 2 biggest games so far have been on the road at BYU and at Iowa State. So the home crowd will be rocking. It's going to be loud. The Baylor defense is going to come out strong. And keep in mind, the Bears also have 10 sacks so far this year. So not only can they bottle up the run, they might be able to generate pressure on Sanders. The only key there is his rushing ability. Baylor needs to make sure they maintain him in the pocket, don't allow him to escape, and use his wheels for any touchdowns or first down pickups. That's going to be the key for Baylor. Bottle up the run and keep Sanders in the pocket. A lot to take in there, guys. I mean, I love both these teams. I really do. I think both these are right now the top 2 teams in the Big 12. Oklahoma just lost to Kansas State. Texas is not back. You could mention Kansas now in that conversation. We'll see how they fare this Saturday. But from 2 teams I really could see making the Big 12 championship, these are it. Oklahoma State and Baylor. And so what's going to happen on Saturday? I got to tell you guys, I personally love Baylor in this spot. I love Baylor. They're at home. I think that they feel disrespected. They're 16th in the country. We have them ranked higher in our rankings, around 11th in the country. This, to me, is a top 10 caliber team, and I think Baylor is going to show that on Saturday. I think Baylor, in front of their home crowd, is going to show they're still king of the Big 12 and that we can beat Oklahoma State. They beat them in the Big 12 title game last year. Now we're going to get a win again in the regular season. I think this game is going to be close. I think it will come down to the fourth quarter, just like it did last year in that championship game. But ultimately, Baylor's defense comes through clutch in the end. Sanders, who's done such a good job taking care of the ball, will commit at least one turnover. I'm putting it on 2, whether it's a fumble, interception, whatever. I think it's at least 2 interceptions from Spencer Sanders. Baylor capitalizes, wins a close game in the fourth, catapults back into the top 10, and Baylor will be the king of the Big 12 right now until proven otherwise. We will have a thriller in Waco on Saturday, but the Bears prevent Oklahoma State from getting their redemption. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. And of course, check out everything down in the description below. We've got our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Make sure to go check those out. Sign up for those today. Some of the best football spread picks in the entire country, guys, for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. Make sure to go sign up today. Become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.